right, thank you so much for staying with us. And now we have Unzewa Lawman, who is joining us live from Abuja. He is a forensic tax expert. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us at this time.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here.
So, all right, that was a speech by the president, and it has met, well, a lot of reaction, mixed reactions from Nigerians. While some are taking it as, okay, well, we still have to work, Nigeria is our nation. Some have downright condemned it, like we have the main opposition party in Nigeria, that is the PDP, saying that the president is giving false hope. But if you would evaluate the president's, I think, 30-minute speech on the 1st of October to Nigerians, how would you rate his speech in renewing the hope of Nigeria, since his administration is termed the renewed hope agenda? How would you rate the speech?
Okay, thank you very much. I think that what we look at when the president spoke is how the distance between his speech and the realities on ground. The good speech was written by some people, and the president just read it. It's far from reality. The Nigerians are still suffering, and the average Nigerian is not comfortable with what is going on. There is still hunger in the land. Corruption is still on the increase, you know, and the administration has rebased all the statistics, you know, economic statistics that would have made somebody know exactly the performance of this government. So what we now have is what they are showing us is no longer the reality. For instance, the GDP has been rebased. So what they call increase now, what they call growth, is something that has now been manipulated. The inflation rate has been rebased. What we have now as inflation rate is something that has been manipulated. So definitely, if the president wants Nigeria to take him serious, he should allow us to see the dirty picture. So that when he's not saying the new hope, we now know from where we are going, where we are coming from, and then know where we are going to. But the president made one kind statement. He actually emphasized on moving from consumption now to production. But we were yet to see the infrastructure on ground that could make somebody to move, or the nation to move from production, from consumption to production. Because such things are not yet in place. Insecurity is still on the increase. Unemployment is still on the increase. The raw materials are, I don't know. Definitely, he has not put the infrastructure on the ground. I expected him to point at the infrastructure development that could support production. Nothing is yet supporting production. So the speech is more of an academic exercise. It doesn't have practical implication.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for that. I guess you and some Nigerians share similar views when it comes to the speech of the president, because some people say that what he has said is far removed from the reality of lots of Nigerians right now. But if we look at how Nigeria has been 65 years so far, what would you say is the major problem that is preventing us from achieving the greatness that was seen by our forefathers? Probably to them, Nigeria is not where it's supposed to be right now. So what do you think is a problem that is preventing us from achieving our forefathers' vision for the country?
Well, I think that what actually we have on ground, I made mention of such, maybe in my previous appearances, I've made mention that the challenge we have was basically from the colonial powers. I don't want to call them masters, colonial powers that ruled Nigeria for many years and handed over in 1960. The whole thing looked like they were not happy living. They left out of anger and frustration, and then they put up landmines against the country, and the country is suffering from that landmines. One of the landmines they put up was, trying to make Nigeria, they yoke Nigeria together as one entity. You say Nigeria is one entity. We are supposed to be united by we. Like I give you, for instance, if you go to the United Kingdom, who are the real colonial powers? All the London, call it Ireland, call it Scotland, They are members of the United Kingdom by will, but they came up here and brought up an idea of an indissoluble nation. So you see nations, you see states, you see ethnic nationalities being forced together. So it's like people are only living under yoke. Under yoke, they can't move together, and they cannot move together unless you agree. There can never be progress. The progress you can make will be just marginal progress. Apart from that, like I stated the other day, the gatekeepers of the economy, whom you could call the financial reporters and auditors, they left them behind. They have their activities for 65 years had put Nigeria into serious corruption menace, into serious insecurity and into serious poverty. So that the more we think of wealth, what we see, the effect is poverty. So these are some of the things that we are having. The structure we are building upon is false and remains false. Now, the summary of it is that we will need to come back and look at our constitution, the constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that we are getting right from the time. So that we'll be able to we agree on how to move forward as a nation. What we are having are just what the colonial masters had planted their landmines inside, and they are not helping us as a nation.
Okay, all right, thank you so much for that. Because Nigeria is a country that is rich in mineral resources, apart from agriculture, which used to be the financier of the nation many years back. We are still, a lot of people are complaining of the money economy. That is one that we are so dependent on crude oil exploitation. But despite all this, Nigeria is still supposed to be a very rich country. And the reason we are not there is because some people have traced this to issue of corruption, which is preventing the dividends of democracy, the gains of all our mineral resources to reflect back on the people, to reflect back on the standard of living. So if you were to rate the significance, the impact of corruption on Nigeria, how far would you say corruption has gone in preventing us from achieving real greatness?
This question, I think, is a very important question, because some people think that maybe the corruption, they look at it as a small thing. Meanwhile, it is a major factor that has kept this country how it is now. What we have, it made like when we come to Nigeria, we have a Nigeria that doesn't have Nigerians. So we have opportunists and not patriotic citizens. So and what it has, it makes people, anybody that has opportunity continues to loot. And from 1960 till now, we have never had Nigerians. And the effect is the effect of corruption, where you see somebody works, another person eats, and you give somebody job to do procurement. You see that the same people you say, give me road, will not give you road, and you want the road to come back, and impunity. At the end, the system does not even provide adequate incentive for people to discourage people, from carrying out their corruption or their corrupt activities. So corruption is a serious menace, and it is inside our system. It has been ingrained inside our system and mixed up with the people. But there's still a remedy. We can still come back and then redefine our system and rid ourselves of the corruption. The corruption is there, but you can deal with it if we want to deal with it as a nation. It's not out of place. It's not out of hand, actually.
So when it comes to the fight against corruption, all governments that have entered power, they always promise that they're going to fight corruption. But with the reality on ground right now, how serious do you think Nigeria, the federal government is when it comes to taking up the fight to really combat the issue of corruption?
Okay, I will start from during late President Muhammad Buhari. I remember when he was, making a corruption as a jingle, playing it as a jingle. I remember stating that if he wanted to fight corruption, the foundation he would lay would show. And I stated at that time that he was not ready to fight corruption. And I give an instance. You want to fight corruption, and the ministers you are appointing were being asked. In fact, the first place, you don't know them personally. You use agents to appoint ministers. And these ministers, somebody will ask them, go and pay 500 million naira, and I'll make you minister. And the minister will go gather money from friends, gather money from everywhere, sell and even borrow. And then when he comes into office, how much are you going to pay him in a month that will make him to refund 500 million naira? So in the first place, you see that you have a cabinet that is infested with people that are already indebted to people, to merchants of power. Now, the same government as we are talking, even the current government knows that no government, no minister, not even a PA, enters into the power without having been made completely. And so how would they? How serious? They're not serious. Including the EFCC chairman, if he tells you the truth, if there's an audit, you now go and audit the EFCC chairman, you know how much he used to become the EFCC chairman. So how will he face his job? There's no fight against corruption. What we are doing is celebration of corruption and not fight against corruption.
Was that we know that we do have agencies that, for example, now ICPC, whose motto is even say no to corruption. So those agencies, are they enough when it comes to combating insecurity? Or what would be your advice to the federal government when it comes to fighting insecurity and putting an end to it? Because that seems to be on the front burner, the issue that's on the front burner when it comes to us realizing a great and prosperous Nigeria.
Well, I will start from the same thing I said. If our governments, whether the current one or the future ones, maybe particularly the future one, because the damage has already been done in the current government, they make sure that appointees, because these are the real machinery that to project the government business, they don't make them dry while wanting to get them appointed. They don't make it difficult and impossible for them to be appointed so that you can hold them irresponsible. Somebody you call and say, come and I'm going to make you one security chief or the other, one minister or the other, and then you expose him to indebtedness. You expose him to indebtedness by using merchants to contact him, then definitely you are not serious. So the way of appointing them, the means of appointing them should be made to be very transparent and less costly for them. The same thing happens to the people who report on our finances, which we call the auditors. If you call an auditor and then I'm giving you 2 billion and you give him an account where he will return 1.5 billion and you want him to do work, immediately you give him the 2 billion and he returns 1.5 billion, that means he will not even do the job. You're asking him to go with the rest. These are some of the things. So the government must be very transparent. And sometimes we have to give ourselves national orientation to know that we're not going anywhere with all these things. I don't know what a 70-year-old man will be doing with 1 billion. Even if they allow you to eat 1 million naira a day until you die, you will not finish. We can't finish 1 billion. How much less? You're talking about 100 billion, even going into trillion. We should reduce our greed. The greed is much. We should reduce our greed. We should not have orientation that takes us into our need, not our greed. Because the whole resources of this nation cannot fund one person's greed. But what we have can take care of everybody's need and the country will remain prosperous. Only if we can be transparent and less corrupt.
So since Nigeria has gained independence, this is the first time that we would say that, okay, we are having proposed now, because this is supposed to take effect next year. That is the tax reform bill, which apparently is tailored to ensure that poor people pay less or no tax, while the rich people pay more tax to help Nigeria grow. So from your perspective as a forensic tax expert, what are your thoughts on the tax reform bill?
Well, I've had a lot of people contact me on this tax reform bill. And I say, on the face of it, somebody could look at it, okay, this is fine. We can bring more people into the tax net. And then the poor who are working, because we're talking about the one that are only income, who will now pay. What about the ones that are not any income? Nothing about them. Then, but let's go by the tax already. The tax reform bill, if it makes the rich to pay more, and you will actually pay more, if it can be implemented, That will be fine. The problem we will have is the problem of implementation. Will it be implemented or will it be the Nigerian term? And what are the infrastructure on ground to implement them? Do we have enough IT? Do we have enough intelligence, enough IT that could make implementation very easy and seamless? Won't we still have people who would want to take advantage and want to put in human hands, the corrupt human hands into the system? But let's just watch. Theoretically, the tax reform bill is fine. It's not an act anyway. It's fine. Taken up from January 1, it will be fine. But we watch the application of it and see how it will be applied and how it will help Nigeria. But I want to say this. Now, one thing the government will need to know is that what grows the economy is not how much you collected from the citizens, it's how much wealth you have created, which is measured by the GDP. This idea of using how much money that have been collected from already impoverished people of Nigeria to measure the progress of the government, I think is not healthy at all. We should be looking at how much wealth have been created and not how much you have been able to take from the citizens who are already poor and impoverished. Remember that the same people we are talking about, they are also carrying the poor people. I know how many, some of them carry as much as 1,000 people at the same time because the economy is poor. Anytime you get a call, the next thing you see account number. Anytime you get a call, the next thing you see account number. So all those ones, they are almost government responsibility. These same rich people we want to task are the ones carrying this responsibility. So these are some of the how we balance these things to say that don't just say I want to task the rich. Look at his responsibility. The responsibility of government is already squarely in the shoulders of these same rich people we are talking about now.
About the challenges that Nigeria is facing at 65 years of independence, what notable successes would you say we have recorded that all Nigerians should look back on and say that, wow, we have really tried as a country at 65. This is what we've been able to achieve from your point of view?
Yeah, I stated it earlier. That was maybe our last week. I said we can't say we were stagnant. We moved as a nation, but we didn't move at the rate we ought to move. Our output could not justify our input. But then there was progress. Like when we say, sometimes I wanted to talk about it, that I am here, me and you are talking, I didn't come to Lagos to come and attend to this, is already an improvement that has happened in this country. That you will not take the number of airports we had in 1960 and the number we have today. Check the number of banks we had in 1960 and the number we have today. Check the roads. Like I was saying the other time, the roads was in such a way that two vehicles cannot pass a bridge at the same time. But today, you can even pass a bridge without knowing there's a bridge. You can see 3 lines, 4 lines, 5 lines on one bridge, passing and seamlessly that way. So we have had progress, but the progress is not enough to justify our sacrifice. That's the only area we are looking at. So we need to do more so that the leakages will be lessened, and then the progress will be very significant compared with our input. Check how much oil revenue we have had. That's up to now, from 1965 to now, we don't know how much we make in oil. We only say we are producing. There's no system that has told us how much we make in oil. We shout about subsidy. Then, are you even sure there was subsidy? These are some of the challenges we also have. If there is subsidy, how much of the subsidy we do not know. So while we are talking about where we have come from in positive terms, we also look at these challenges, that these are the challenges we are having. We have not actually moved the way we ought to move as a nation, but we have moved.
All right. Now, if you would address Nigerians, because there will be no Nigeria without Nigerians, the citizens, what advice would you give to them? Nigeria at 65, looking ahead into the future, what should Nigerians do to ensure that Nigeria as a country is a prosperous and enviable country among all countries in the world?
Well, I would look at it that, yes, we have said it here that we have Nigeria without Nigerians. And there's a challenge on everybody, both the leader and the business. We need to review our system. We need to why are we the way we are? Or normally, when a child does a thing, you say he looks like your father. And if a child walks outside the family DNA, you will begin to question where did he come from. Now we had country like UK that colonized Nigeria and ruled it for many over years. And look at our behavior. Are we actually behaving like them? Our economy, is it like their own? Our education system, is it like their own? It is not. Meanwhile, they were the one that handed over whatever they handed over to us. So what we need to do is to review. We need to review our system. We need to review what we are doing, decide what is wrong, and it should be led by the leaders. And where the leaders become reluctant, as they are, because, like I said, we have opportunists and not patriotic citizens. So if they continue, then the citizens will have a responsibility to hold them accountable and ensure that, look, let us review where we are coming from. Let us review our systems. Let us review our laws. Let us know why we are a country but we don't have citizens. Let us know why we are having division, why ethnicity is going on. We are not the only country that have different ethnic groups. Why is our own hydra-headed? Something is wrong. Somebody must have spoiled our mind against one another, so that what we have, instead of unity, we have ethnic hatred. And with hatred, you cannot move. And the people that planted this hatred know that we cannot move. That's what their purpose. The purpose is because they don't want us to move forward. So we need to come back. We could be stupid. After 65 years, we are still blaming them for what they did 65 years ago. By now, we are supposed to have remedied this situation on our own because we are feeling the impact. Everybody's seeing it. It's affecting everybody.
Thank you so much for joining us at this time, and we truly enjoy and appreciate your contributions on this episode of Firecrackers. Thank you so much for staying with us.